Hi everyone, Alex here from Industry Detail. I am wanting to do a quick video, particularly for customers who receive their cars back blind, meaning I'm unable to hand them over personally with some instructions on how to best look after the coating from delivery on. So you will have generally, as a customer, received an email listing all of the products and outlining the techniques, but what I'm going to go through today will just hopefully help you see all of that in action as opposed to the written word. So I'll start off with tools. So tools. You will see the cornerstone of this wash process that I recommend at least is a 3-bucket method. So we've got a bucket dedicated to your rims, a bucket with the wash fluid and a rinse bucket. The process I'll talk about in a second. I'll just skim through all the products that we're going to use here. Secondly, I recommend grit guards. These are excellent and these are okay. Anything's better than nothing, but beware. There are some cheaper ones that float around. At least these guys stay on the bottom. This one in particular, I've matched up to these buckets so that I can have the grit guard slightly off the bottom. And the idea of the grit guard is effectively to trap dirt and debris at the bottom and stop it coming back up into the wash and then into the mitt and then onto the paint, becoming an abrasive, and that's where you get your swirl marks, etc. So another point is I recommend these 20-litre buckets as opposed to 15, which is the usual. Reason being that in my mind, more volume, 25% more volume is hopefully 25% less debris floating around in the bucket. So why not? It's a little bit of extra water, a little bit of extra wash. On that note, wash. Obviously a pH neutral soap. Buy the best you can afford. You've obviously invested a significant sum in your coating. So something SiO2 infused is good as well. That will be listed in the email I give you. Keep in mind that soap acts as a lubricant as well. So you don't need to be frightened of using, maybe a tiny bit more than recommended. They're not aggressive cleaners or soaps. Okay, so moving on, you will be using microfiber wash mitts. Dedicated for the wheels. I like this one at the moment. You just find something that this will be a bit of trial and error as to what works with your rims. I like these, they're able to get into the cracks and crevices really well. It has a different side that lets me get my finger in there if there's some tight areas. So that's dedicated to the rim bucket or the wheel bucket. Beautiful plush microfiber sponge, if you like. Sponges are out, but microfiber wash pad, wash mitt. That goes in the wash there. We will also have some sort of, either an all-purpose cleaner or a degreaser for the tyre walls and wheel arches. Here is a drying aid. I'll explain that in a second. What else do I have here? I have a drying towel, beautiful big drying towel microfiber, and a finishing microfiber, which I'll also explain how that's used in a minute. Over here, I have a brush for the tyres. We have some wheel woolies, and the idea behind these is depending on the rim, these allow you to get in behind the face of the rim, particularly with larger alloys, wheels on sports cars, etc. Perhaps not so important or possible with four-wheel drive rims due to access problems. This guy or this style can be quite handy if you are tight in there. Okay, so we have a brush for the wheel arch, which I'll explain in a minute, or show you in a minute, and a softer makeup style brush, and these are kind of handy for nooks and crannies. You'll see me use this on the grill in a second, really important for this kind of car. Okay, so, and then in the drying process, which I'll explain in a second as well, just lost the brush there, a blower. Really handy tool, awesome bang for buck, and I'll explain how to use that in a second. So they're the core tools. What is missing at the moment is a pressure washer. Ideally, you would use a pressure washer. I know that not everybody has one. It's not the end of the world if you're extra thorough with your hose and you have decent pressure already through that hose, but it is ideal, definitely ideal. Okay, so let's get into the method or techniques. Alrighty, so I am going to start. I'm not going to wash this whole car. I'm just going to quickly, for the sake of this video, do the rims, tyres, arches, bonnet, blah blah blah. Alrighty. I should stop for a second. Shade's really important. I'd always recommend you wash in the shade. You know, the sun and the heat can soften paint, which makes it more susceptible to scratching. Secondly, you've got more chance of getting water spotting, particularly up here in Brisbane. There's a lot of, well, the water's heavy, so you get a lot of mineral deposits and you don't really want them drying on the paint. It's really bad for your paint and can actually eventually etch into your paint. Not that it should happen in the process of washing, but nonetheless. So shade's really important. Technique-wise as well, we are starting on the rims, forgive me for that reason, so that we don't have water just sitting on the car. So we'll do all of the wheels, then we'll come along and we'll work top down. So I'll grab, in this case, a bit of degreaser. Again, just for sort of demonstration purposes. Maybe the arches if they're extra manky. Get the brush. Be careful with this so you don't splash in your eyes. And I will get rid of that. Get in the wheel arches. A lot of people forget the wheel arches. They're really important. They're a fair bit of real estate. Pretty easy to do with a brush like this. Theoretically, you could now do that back tyre. You're letting the degreaser or the tyre cleaner, whatever it is you're using, dwell. High pressure hose is going to make a big difference here too. Again, not essential. Obviously, testing out this soap, but it's not as suddy as what I'd like. All good. Alrighty. And theoretically, that's the wheels done. Make sure your buckets are full. Just letting the suds set a little bit. Just bonnet a rinse. Okay, what I want you to do here is load that mitt up with wash and always work in straight lines. Don't swirl around. Niggly areas, you can use a little bit of extra pressure. Now we come into the rinse, and we rinse at the top. We don't want to dunk and smash it all around. I should have a grip guard in there, I don't at the moment. We just want to let that kind of, anything in there fall to the bottom. So we've rinsed anything off of the car into that bucket, and then we've come back and we'll reload it with wash. And again, I'm not smashing this up and down and stirring things through, I'm just loading it back up. I'll just do this side, get it done. In the sun here a little bit, breaking the rules. This is actually, the front of this car is actually wrapped in PPF. So it's not going to have the hydrophobicity of your ceramic coating unless we've coated your PPF. This isn't coated, it's just got a last step product / sealant over the top of it. So it's very good to start with, but it's not as good as a ceramic per se. Alrighty. Alrighty, that's enough to give you an idea there. So I want to grab my little brush, which I've dropped. Obviously very important to make sure you don't drop your brushes. I'll clean them if you do. Now, I'm going to grab this wash bucket, bring it over. You could also load up a sprayer as you go, depends on how OCD you want to get. But you can see in a grill like this, there's going to be no way of really effectively cleaning in these sort of crevices like a brush is going to allow you to do. You can tell those mitts aren't going to reach right into the corners in the back here. I'll just quickly do this for demonstration purposes. Yeah, not happy with that soap, but I'll have a play with dilutions before I bin it. So you can see a brush like this is a pretty much a must-have. A lot of the, what did I say the other day, Lexus is starting to have these crazy grills, Beamers, some Audis. Sort of trend right now. Alrighty, we'll pop this guy back over here for safekeeping. Give that a rinse. Okay. Now, this guy comes out, our blower, and on a ceramic coated car, you'll see this blow off probably 85 to 90% of the residual water on top. You might not be so lucky with this, also really handy for those areas that tend to catch a bit of extra water and then drip down. After you've finished drying the car, you come back out and you see these watermarks, you know, mirror areas, door handles, seals, all that. Exceptionally handy for tyres. Particularly tyres, that can be a spot that slows you down if you're trying to put your dressing on. A lot of water can get caught in particularly these more intricate areas of the tyre wall. come around here, and this is where there's no turning back once you use a blower on an area of a car like this. Firstly, the less we touch the car, the better. Less chance we have of scratching anything, particularly with these piano black finishes, which are increasingly more common and popular these days. So we'll just show you quickly how this works. Now I have got an SiO2 spray sealant on this, so that's dried up pretty well. I mean, not 100%, but as good as you really need it. And obviously made life a lot easier and quicker to dry. Okay, so once I've blown everything off, I highly recommend you use a drying aid, which adds a bit of extra gloss, or even, like in this case, I'm using a style of spray sealant that's safe for the coating. Add a bit of gloss, a bit of extra protection between washes, a bit of extra resistance to water spotting, and anything else that happens to fall in the car. You think of it like a bit of a top-up. Not going to use it in the sun there. Don't need a lot of it. And then we simply grab our beautiful big plush microfiber drying towel. Shouldn't even really need any pressure. And voila. That's looking good. Simple as that. Now, I'm just going to put this in here. So now, as a last step, we will still have a little bit of perhaps residual of your quick detailer or your sealant or whatever you've used as a drying aid. So you get a nice plush microfiber and come along, and that can just add a little bit more gloss to the paint. We can obviously come along and pay a bit more attention to the rims and tidy up and all that sort of jazz. Okay, so I think I've covered everything you need to know. I really can't stress enough this 3-bucket method. Obviously you can use 2 if you like. You just need to slow things down a little bit more. You just empty this out, make sure it's really, really clean. If that becomes your rim, then it becomes your wash or whatever, your rinse. Microfiber mitts are really, really important. Being really careful with your rinsing is really important. Grit guards are really important. I'd recommend a drying aid. The blower's fantastic, as you can tell. I'd also recommend perhaps you splash out a bit and grab yourself a battery version just to save yourself having cords all over the shop. And microfiber towels are really, really important. Yeah, so I hope that's helped you understand how you should be looking after your coating once you've taken delivery. I'm sure it's looking fantastic. We'd love to keep it that way. Grab anything that lands on it as quick as you can. I'll do a separate video on that, but essentially using a quick detailer and a microfiber, just get any sort of bird poop or sort of any weird things that fall out of trees off your paint as soon as you can. But essentially, this is a wash process that is extremely safe for you to use, and I'd highly recommend it. Thanks so much for watching, and I trust you're enjoying your beautiful ceramic coated car. Look forward to speaking to you soon. Thank you. Bye.